You're not my mother anymore. You're on your own from now on." David's words struck my chest like a physical blow. I lay paralyzed in that hospital bed, watching my only son turn his back and walk out the door without a single glance. The echo of his footsteps down the hall felt like the final chord of decades of love and devotion. Debbie, the nurse who witnessed it all, silently squeezed my hand. Her compassionate gaze only made the tears well up harder. "Susan, just breathe. I'll get you some water." But I could barely draw breath. My broken femur felt insignificant compared to the pain tearing through my heart. 67 years of life, and I never imagined my son, the boy I rocked through countless nights, whom I raised alone after my husband Charles passed, could abandon me when I needed him most. "He'll come back," I murmured to myself, tears tracking paths down my wrinkled face. "He's just stressed." Debbie returned with the water and a box of tissues. "You need to calm down for surgery. You can't go in like this." How can I not be nervous? My son just told me I'm not his mother anymore. My voice broke. His words clawed at my mind, echoing. "You smother our family with your needs, always needing to be involved, always telling us how to raise our kids." But I'd never forced myself on them. I always waited for an invitation. I'd bring homemade carrot cakes on Sundays. I'd watch my grandkids when they asked. Where was this suffocating woman David described? You must be wondering how we got to this point. How a son could abandon his own mother in a hospital. The story didn't begin that day, of course. But it didn't come from some distant past, either. Or at least, I never realized it was building. Everything seemed normal until a few months ago. I was living my quiet, retired life in my small apartment. I'd worked as a secretary my whole life, saving what I could. After Charles passed from a heart attack when David was just 12, I took on 2 jobs. I cleaned houses on Saturdays, just to make ends meet. All to give my son what he needed. "Mom, I want to go to business school," he told me at 17. "We'll make it happen, son. Your mom will find a way." And I did. I worked more, slept less. When he turned 18, I bought him a used car so he could get to college and his internships. I never complained about the exhaustion. Seeing my son thrive was my greatest reward. David graduated, landed a good job, and met Jennifer, a beautiful girl from an upper-middle-class family. At first, she seemed to like me, or perhaps just tolerated me. It's hard to tell now. "Susan, your carrot cake is divine," she'd say, serving a slice to guests at some birthday. I'd smile, grateful to be useful, to be part of their lives. When they married, I helped however I could. I didn't have much money to give, but I offered my time, my efforts. I helped with the catering, organized the party favors. Then came my grandchildren. Noah, now 11, and Lily, 9. Adorable kids who lit up my Sundays. I eagerly awaited those weekly visits. "Grandma, tell the frog story again?" Lily would ask, snuggling into my lap. "Grandma, look what I drew at school." Noah would proudly show off his dinosaur drawings. I kept every drawing, every Mother's Day card. My little treasure trove. In recent months, though, I noticed shifts. Sunday visits became more sporadic. "We're just so busy, Mom." "The kids have too many activities." "Maybe next weekend." When I called, conversations were clipped. Jennifer rarely came to the phone. David always seemed rushed. "Son, is everything okay between you two?" "Everything's great, Mom. We're just swamped." I accepted the explanation. After all, modern life is like that, isn't it? Everyone's busy, always rushing. I didn't want to be that clingy mom, that meddling mother-in-law. So, I pulled back, called less, waited more. Until that fateful Thursday, 3 weeks ago. I was descending the stairs in my building. The elevator was broken again, laden with groceries. I didn't see the wet step. A second later, I was sprawled out, a searing pain in my leg, the bag torn, oranges rolling down the stairs. "Help!" I screamed, but the building was silent at that hour. I managed to reach my cell phone. I called David. Once, twice, 3 times, until he finally answered. "Mom, I'm in a meeting. What is it?" "Son." My voice trembled with pain. "I fell on the stairs. I think I broke my leg. I can't get up." A heavy sigh. "Where exactly are you?" "On the stairs in my building, between the 3rd and 2nd floor." "Okay, I'll see if I can get out of here. Try calling a neighbor." I yelled a few more times until Mrs. Henderson, from 2B, heard me. She called her son, who carried me down to the ground floor. An ambulance was called. At the hospital, the diagnosis was confirmed. Broken femur. Urgent surgery. I lay for hours in the emergency room, alone, until David finally appeared. His face was grim, his eyes constantly flicking to his watch. "Mom, I can't stay here all day. I have an important meeting." "Son, I just need you to sign the admission papers. Then you can go." He snatched the pen impatiently. That's when Nurse Debbie, the same one who would later comfort me, asked the question that detonated everything. "Will you be staying with your mother after the surgery? She's going to need help for the first few days." David's face transformed, an expression I'd never seen before. "Number. She needs to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. This is just for attention." I was stunned. "David, Look, Mom, I'm going to be honest. Jennifer and I have talked a lot about this. You smother our family with your needs, always needing to be involved, always telling us how to raise our kids. But I never. You're not my mother anymore. You're on your own from now on." And so, we're back to the moment I started this story. Me, abandoned in a hospital bed, trying to comprehend how my son could treat me like that. The days that followed were a blur of pain, physical and emotional. The surgery happened the next morning. I woke up in the ICU, alone. No flowers, no card. Just the relentless beeping of machines and the quiet shuffle of nurses. Did any family come to ask about me? I asked Debbie when she came to check my vitals. Her pitying look gave me the answer before she even spoke. "No, Susan. But don't worry. You're in good hands here." I tried calling David several times in the following days. All calls went straight to voicemail. I sent messages that remained unanswered. I even tried their home landline, but no one picked up. Maybe they're traveling, I told myself, knowing it was a lie. In the second week, when I was already in my room, I got Jennifer's number. She answered to my surprise. "Susan." Her voice was cold, distant. "David's already made it clear you two need space. Please, respect that." "But Jennifer, I'm in the hospital. I broke my femur. I had surgery." "I'm sorry to hear that. But you have health insurance. You're being well cared for. Many people in your situation don't have that privilege." "What about my grandkids? Can I talk to them?" "I don't think that's appropriate right now. They're confused by this whole situation." "What situation, Jennifer? What did I do that was so bad?" An impatient sigh from the other end. "Susan, I'm not going to discuss this over the phone. David will talk to you when he's ready." And she hung up. I cried myself to sleep that night. I dreamed of David as a child, running into my arms after school. Mommy, look what I made today. I woke up with my face wet with tears. In the 3rd week, I could already walk a little with a walker. The doctors were talking about discharge soon. I didn't know how I'd manage alone at home, with stairs to climb and no one to help. But I had no choice. It was a Wednesday afternoon when Debbie came into the room with a different smile. "Susan, you have a visitor." My heart pounded. Could it be David? Had he reconsidered? But who walked in was Lily, my granddaughter, accompanied by a gray-haired woman I'd never seen before. "Grandma!" Lily rushed as fast as she could to my bed, her eyes shining. I opened my arms, feeling a wave of emotion so strong I could barely speak. "My love!" "How did you get here?" The woman approached, extending her hand. "I'm Linda, Jennifer's mother. Lily insisted so much on seeing you that I decided to bring her in secret. I hope you don't mind." I shook her hand, confused and grateful at the same time. "Of course, I don't mind. But do David and Jennifer know you're here?" Linda shook her head. "Number. And I prefer it stays that way for now." Lily snuggled beside me on the bed, careful not to hurt my leg. "Grandma, Daddy said you were traveling, but I heard him on the phone saying you were in the hospital. Why did he lie?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, exchanging a quick look with Linda. "Sometimes adults complicate simple things, sweetie. Are you going to come visit us on Sunday again? I miss your carrot cake." "As soon as I can, my love. Grandma needs to recover first." Linda leaned closer, sitting in the chair beside the bed. "Susan, we don't know each other, but Lily talks about you a lot." When I found out what happened. Well, I don't agree with my son-in-law and my daughter's attitude. I looked at her, surprised by her candor. "You know what happened, because I'm still trying to understand." Linda sighed, glancing at Lily, who was now flipping through a magazine she'd found on the nightstand. "It's a complicated story, honey. I'm not sure this is the right time to get into it." "Please," I begged. "I've been racking my brain for weeks, trying to figure out what I did wrong." Linda hesitated, then spoke softly. "Jennifer's always been possessive. Ever since she was a little girl, she doesn't like to share what she considers hers. These last few months, she started saying you were too involved in their lives, that you were influencing the kids too much. But I only ever went when they invited me. I never pushed myself on them. I know, but in her mind, any outside presence is a threat. She did the same thing with me years ago, right after Noah was born. Kept me at arm's length for almost a year. I just sat there, quiet, trying to process it all. So it wasn't something I did. It was Jennifer trying to control who got to be part of her family's life. And David? Why did he go along with it?" Linda just shrugged. "Men sometimes just pick the path of least resistance. It's easier to give in than to deal with daily fights." "But to tell me I'm not his mother anymore? That's cruel," she finished for me. "Yes, it is, and it's unforgivable." Lily looked up, turning her attention back to us. "What are you talking about?" "Grown-up stuff, sweetie," Linda replied, stroking her hair. "Look, I brought your drawing pad. How about you draw a beautiful picture for Grandma Susan to put in her room?" While Lily focused on her drawing, Linda continued. "Susan, I came here today not just for Lily, but because I truly believe what they're doing to you is wrong. We're from the same tribe, you know. Mothers who love too much and sometimes get too little in return." Her eyes met mine, and I saw a shared understanding that warmed my heart. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel utterly alone. "When are you getting out?" she asked. "In a few days, according to the doctors. But I'm worried about how I'll manage alone at home." Linda squeezed my hand. "Don't you worry about that right now. We'll figure something out." When they left, Lily left me her drawing. A white-haired lady, me apparently, surrounded by hearts. In the corner, she'd scrawled in her childlike hand, "I love you, Grandma. Come back soon." I fell asleep that night with the drawing clutched to my chest, feeling that, despite everything, there was still love in the world. And that maybe, just maybe, fate had other plans for me, besides abandonment. What I didn't know was that visit would only be the beginning of an unexpected turn in my life. A turn that would teach me that family goes far beyond blood, and that sometimes we have to lose something precious to discover treasures we didn't even know existed. But that's a story for another time. I tucked Lily's drawing away like a treasure, smoothing the colorful lines before I drifted off. Those hearts, drawn by tiny hands, were the only tangible proof that I still existed for someone in this world. In the days that followed, I clung to that certainty like a shipwreck survivor to a piece of driftwood. On the morning of my discharge, I was mentally steeling myself to face the solitude of my apartment when Debbie walked in with a smile. "Mrs. Susan, your friend's here to pick you up." My friend? What friend? I hadn't told anyone about my discharge. To my surprise, Linda walked into the room, carrying a bag of clean clothes. "I figured you might need these, and I came to take you home." "Linda, how did you know I was getting out today?" She smiled, setting the bag on the bed. "I called the hospital yesterday. Thought you might need some help." I was speechless. A woman I barely knew was here, offering help, while my own son. "You didn't have to go to all this trouble," I murmured, swallowing the lump in my throat. "It's no trouble at all. We're from the same tribe, remember?" In the car, on the way to my place, Linda told me more about her life. A widow for 8 years, she'd been living alone since Jennifer got married. She taught piano lessons to neighborhood kids and volunteered at a nursing home. "Does Jennifer know you're helping me?" I asked, a little worried. Linda kept her eyes on the road. "No, and for now it's better that way. I don't want to cause trouble between you two." "Susan." She glanced at me quickly. "I'm an adult, and I make my own decisions. My daughter doesn't control who I socialize with." When we got to my building, we hit the first snag. The stairs. The elevator was still broken. "I'm not going to be able to make it up," I confessed, looking at the steps with dread. "We'll figure it out," Linda said with determination. She called over the building superintendent and 2 young guys who were passing by. With a lot of effort, they managed to carry me up to the 3rd floor. I got into my apartment, breathless and exhausted, but so grateful to be home. Linda didn't just drop me off. She stayed. She tidied up my bedroom, made me some soup, and to my complete surprise, started installing grab bars in the bathroom that she'd brought in another bag. "Bought them yesterday," she explained, as she screwed the bar into the wall next to the toilet. My husband Richard was good with this kind of thing, so I learned by watching. "Why are you doing all this for me?" I asked, watching her work. She paused, holding the drill, and looked at me with an expression that mixed understanding with something more. Maybe solidarity. "Because I know what it's like to be discarded when you get old and inconvenient. Because nobody deserves to be left alone in a hospital. And because I like you." That night, After Linda left, promising to come back the next day, I cried again. But these were different tears, not just of pain, but of gratitude. A stranger had shown me more compassion than my own son. Days turned into weeks. Linda came over almost every day, bringing food, medicine, and most importantly, companionship. We talked about everything: our lives, our marriages, our kids. Charles died so young, I told her one afternoon as we sipped tea on my small balcony. A sudden heart attack. David was only 12. That must have been so hard, raising a son on your own. It was. I worked as a secretary during the week and cleaned houses on Saturdays. Barely slept, saved every penny, all to give him a good life. Linda nodded, understanding. We mothers always think our sacrifices will be recognized one day. What about you? How was it with Jennifer? She sighed, looking out at the horizon. My husband, Richard, was present, but very strict. Jennifer was always so attached to him. Maybe that's why. By the time he passed, she was already married to David. She just closed up like a clam. I think losing her father triggered a terrible fear of losing more people. And that's why she pushes everyone away. Paradoxical, isn't it? She pushes away so she won't be abandoned. We sat in silence, contemplating the irony of it all. Two women, united by the rejection of their own children. Yesterday I took Lily to the park after school, Linda commented, changing the subject. She asked about you. My heart sped up. What did you tell her? That you were recovering at home and sent your love. She really wants to see you. David and Jennifer can't know. They won't. I pick Lily and Noah up from school twice a week. Jennifer works late on those days, and David trusts that I take the kids straight home. I looked at her, hesitant. You're suggesting that we could take a little detour on the way? Yes, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. And that's how the very next week I received the most precious visit I could ever imagine. Linda brought not just Lily, but Noah too. When I opened the door and saw my two grandkids standing there with shy smiles, I thought my heart was going to burst. Grandma! Lily ran to hug me, careful with my still fragile leg. Noah, more reserved like any preteen, approached slowly. Hi, Grandma. Are you feeling better? I hugged them both, inhaling the scent of their hair, feeling the texture of their school clothes. I'm much better now that you two are here. That afternoon was pure magic. I showed them old photo albums, including some of David as a kid. Dad was so skinny. Noah laughed, pointing to a photo of his father at 10, all gangly. And look at his hair here. It looks like a mushroom, Lily added, giggling at a picture of teenage David. As the kids flipped through the albums, Linda watched me from the kitchen. They need this, she whispered when I came closer to grab more juice. They need to know their roots, their history. Thank you, was all I could manage, emotion catching in my throat. Before they left, we agreed it would be our secret. Like a special mission, Linda explained to the kids. Sometimes grown-ups need time to sort out their differences. Dad's always mad lately, Noah commented, surprising me with his observation. He and Mom fight a lot. I exchanged a worried look with Linda. What was going on in that house? 3 months passed since my accident. My leg was almost completely recovered, though I still used a cane for longer walks. Linda and I had become inseparable friends. We'd go to the movies, to little restaurants, and twice a week, we'd have secret visits from my grandkids. One of those afternoons while Lily was drawing and Noah was showing me a game on his phone, the landline rang. It was an unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Susan? A hesitant female voice. This is Sarah, Doctor. David's secretary. My heart pounded. Yes, this is Susan. The doctor asked me to let you know he's been trying to reach you, but your number seems to be blocked on his cell phone. Blocked? So that's why my calls never went through. He asked for you to call this number as soon as you can. After I hung up, I just stared at the phone, dazed. Linda noticed my expression. Everything all right, Susan? That was Sarah from David's office. He wants to talk to me. The kids looked up, ears perked. Grandma's gonna talk to Daddy? Lily asked, hopeful. I don't know, sweetheart. We'll see. When Linda took the kids, I was left alone with my thoughts. Should I call? What did David want after all this time? Forgiveness, or just some practical information? I spent the whole night replaying every moment since that day at the hospital. The cruel words, the abandonment, the crushing silence. But I also remembered the years before. David, a little boy, running into my arms. A teenager proudly showing me his report card. A young man introducing me to Jennifer for the very first time. The next morning, I made up my mind. I dialed the number Sarah had given me. Dr. David Miller's office, good morning. Good morning, Sarah. It's Susan, David's mother. Oh, Mrs. Miller, I'll transfer you right away. A few seconds of silence, and then... Mom? David's voice sounded different. Tired, perhaps. Hi, son. I kept my voice firm, controlled. I need to talk to you. In person. Can you make it? He hesitated. About what, Mom? It's complicated. I'd rather talk face to face. Can I come over to your apartment today after work? I thought of Linda, of my grandkids' secret visits, of everything that had happened these past few months. All right, I'll be waiting. The day dragged on. I tidied up the apartment, brewed some coffee, changed my clothes a dozen times. At 6:30 p.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door with some difficulty, leaning on my cane. It was David. Thinner than I remembered, deep circles under his eyes. He looked like he'd aged years in just a few months. Mom! His voice cracked. Jennifer left me. She took the kids. No triumph in his torment, only a raw, profound sorrow. I saw before me not the man who abandoned me at the hospital, but the little boy I once comforted when his goldfish died. Come in, son. He collapsed onto the sofa, his whole body trembling with suppressed sobs. She said she couldn't take it anymore, that I was too cold, that if I was capable of abandoning my own mother. I poured us both coffee, silently. I let him cry, let him purge all the pain he was carrying. When did it happen? I finally asked. 2 weeks ago. She took the kids to her mom's house. So that's why Linda hadn't visited me in the past few days. She was busy with her daughter and grandkids. I don't know if I can forgive you for what you said at the hospital. I finally managed, looking him in the eye. But I know I can still love you. That's what mothers do. David looked up, ashamed. How can you still let me in after what I did? Fate has a funny way, son. It took you from me, but it gave me Linda. It taught me that family goes beyond blood. Now, if you want to rebuild our relationship, it'll have to be on new ground. Linda? Jennifer's mother. I realized he knew nothing about the visits, about the friendship we'd built. Yes, she helped me when I left the hospital. She became my friend. David seemed confused. But how did you two meet? I decided it was time for the whole truth. She brought Lily to visit me in the hospital, 3 weeks after you left me there. Your daughter overheard you saying I was hospitalized, even though you told her I was traveling. He covered his face with his hands. Oh my God. After that, Linda started visiting me regularly. When I was discharged, she was the one who brought me home, installed safety bars in the bathroom, took care of me. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You blocked me, David. You blocked your own mother. He didn't answer, just kept crying silently. In the last few months, I continued, Linda brought Noah and Lily to visit me twice a week, after school. That made him look up, surprised. The kids knew? They knew we were fighting, but they didn't understand why. Kids are more perceptive than we imagined, son. Noah told me you and Jennifer had been fighting a lot lately. David sighed deeply. It started after that day at the hospital. Jennifer was furious when I told her what I'd said to you. She said I'd gone too far, that it wasn't what she wanted. What did she want then? Just distance. She's jealous, Mom, of our relationship, of your relationship with the kids. Always has been. Linda told me a bit about that. Said Jennifer did the same to her when Noah was born. David nodded slowly. Yeah, she kept her own mother away for almost a year. But then things got better. I thought it would be temporary with you too, that she'd eventually realize she was overreacting. But then came your accident, and I gave in to the pressure. I said horrible things I didn't truly mean. Words have power, son. They cut deeper than physical blows sometimes. I know. And I regretted it the moment I walked out of that hospital. But it was too late. My stupid pride wouldn't let me turn back. We sat in silence for a few minutes, the weight of the confessions hanging between us. And now, I finally asked, "What do you want, David?" He looked at me, eyes red from crying. "I want to ask for your forgiveness, Mom. I know I don't deserve it, that what I did is unforgivable. But I need you to know how much I regret it." I reached out, touching his face like I used to when he was a child. Forgiveness doesn't come overnight, son. It's a process. We need to rebuild trust, day by day. I'm willing to try, if you give me that chance. In that moment, I remembered something Linda had told me weeks ago. Sometimes our children lose their way, but a mother's love is like a lighthouse. It's always there, guiding them back home. We'll try, David. One day at a time. He held my hand, squeezing it tight. Thank you, Mom. As for the kids, I continued, I want to keep seeing my grandkids. Not in secret, but openly. Of course, they miss you. Noah asked about you yesterday. And Jennifer? What about her? David sighed. I don't know. We're talking about separating. But regardless of what happens between us, you're their grandma. Nothing will change that. When David left, hours later, I sat on the porch, watching the city lights. I picked up my phone and called Linda. Susan? I was just thinking of calling you. David was here, I said simply. A moment of silence. I figured that might happen. Jennifer's here with me, with the kids. He told me. How is she? Confused. Hurt, but also regretful, I think. Regretful? Yeah. Last night, after the kids were asleep, she cried a lot. Said she never wanted David to abandon you like that. That things just got out of control. I thought about that for a moment. Linda, I think we need to talk. All four of us. Clear the air. Lay everything out on the table. I agree, but not now. Everyone needs time to process what happened. Yes, time. Seems that's what we all need. In the following weeks, a new routine settled in. David came to visit me regularly, sometimes bringing Noah and Lily. Slowly, we started to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy. There were moments of awkward silence, of old hurts resurfacing. But we were trying. Linda continued to be my friend, though now our visits were out in the open. One afternoon, she called me with an unexpected proposal. "Susan, I'm thinking of moving." "Moving? Where to?" "There's a small senior living community near the park. Accessible apartments, social activities, security." I was thinking, maybe you'd like to check it out too. Me? Yes, there's a vacant apartment right next to the one I'm considering. We could be neighbors. The idea caught me by surprise. Living in a new place, leaving the apartment where I'd lived so many years with Charles, where I'd raised David. "You don't have to decide now," Linda quickly added. "Just think about it." That night, I looked around my small apartment. Memories clung to every corner, good and bad. The couch where Charles used to doze off watching football. The kitchen table where David did his homework. The stairs where I fell, and which changed the course of my life. Maybe it was time for a new beginning. Not to escape the past, but to embrace a future I never imagined possible at 67. A week later, Linda took me to see the community. It was a pleasant place, with well-kept gardens and ground-floor apartments. No stairs. There was a small library, a game room, even a community garden. "What do you think?" Linda asked as we drove home. "I liked it. It's welcoming. And safe. No stairs to fall down," she added with a smile. I laughed, realizing I could joke about something that once caused me so much pain. That's a big plus. The following Sunday, I invited David, Jennifer, and the kids for lunch. To my surprise, Jennifer agreed to come. It was the first time we'd seen each other since everything happened. I made baked ziti, Noah's favorite, and carrot cake for dessert. Linda arrived early to help, bringing a salad and her famous caramel flan. When the doorbell rang, I felt my heart race. I opened the door and there they were. David, Jennifer, and the kids, all looking just as nervous as I felt. "Hi, Mom." David leaned in to kiss me. "Hello, Susan," Jennifer said, extending a bouquet of flowers. "These are for you." I accepted the flowers, noticing how her hands trembled slightly. "Thank you, Jennifer. Come in, please." The meal started stiff, you know. All polite chatter and plastered-on smiles. But slowly, thanks mostly to the kids and their school stories, the air started to clear. After dessert, while Noah and Lily watched TV in the living room, the four of us, me, Linda, David, and Jennifer, settled onto the patio to talk. "I want to apologize, Susan," Jennifer started, catching me off guard with her bluntness. "What happened? The way David treated you at the hospital. That was never what I wanted." "What did you want then?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She hesitated, glancing at her mom as if looking for support. I was jealous of your relationship with the kids, the way they'd run to you when you arrived. I felt like I was losing my own family. Jennifer's always had a fear of abandonment, Linda explained softly. Ever since her dad passed away. "So you push people away before they can leave you?" I asked. Jennifer nodded, tears in her eyes. "It's irrational, I know. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand these patterns." "And what about you two?" I looked at her and David. "How are things?" They exchanged a look that held a whole story. "We're talking," David replied. We've decided to try again, with professional help this time. We realized we have too much to lose, Jennifer added. Especially the kids. They need both of us. And their grandmas, Linda finished, smiling at me. It was then I decided to share my plans. I'm thinking of moving, I announced, to a senior living community near the park. Moving? David looked surprised. Why? I thought you loved this apartment. I love the memories it holds, but maybe it's time to make new ones. Besides, Linda will be there too. We'll be neighbors. Neighbors? Jennifer looked at her mom, who nodded, smiling. Yep, 2 independent old ladies living their best lives, Linda quipped. Everyone laughed, and I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't all fixed, of course. There were still plenty of tough conversations ahead, many wounds to heal. But we were finally moving in the right direction. 6 months later, I moved into my new apartment at the community. David and Noah helped with the heavier boxes, while Jennifer and Lily organized the kitchen. Linda supervised everything from her chair on the patio, shouting instructions no one really followed. It was a new beginning, not just for me, but for all of us. David and Jennifer were still in therapy, working through their issues. Sometimes they'd argue, sometimes they'd laugh together like in the early days. Their future was still uncertain, but they were trying, for themselves and for the kids. As for Linda and me, we discovered a freedom we hadn't known before. We'd do water aerobics together, join the community book club, and on Fridays we'd play bingo with the other residents. On Sundays, the family still got together for lunch, sometimes at David and Jennifer's place, sometimes at mine, or at Linda's. They were loud gatherings, full of stories, laughter, and occasionally a few tears. One of those Sunday afternoons, watching everyone gathered in my new living room, David and Jennifer chatting on the couch, Noah showing Linda his new game, Lily drawing on the rug, I realized something important. Fate really did have other plans for me. Plans that taught me, at 67, it was still possible to rebuild. Not just broken relationships, but myself. I discovered a strength I didn't know I had, a capacity to forgive without forgetting, to love without losing myself. Those cruel words at the hospital, "You're not my mother anymore," that once almost destroyed me, ended up paving the way for a stronger, wiser version of myself. A version that understood being a mother, being a grandmother, being a friend, being a woman. None of those roles define me completely. I am all those things, and so much more. Fate did have other plans. Yes. Plans that taught me that even when we lose something valuable, we can find unexpected treasures along the way. And that true family isn't just the one we're born into or create, but also the one we choose along the journey. Like Linda said that day at the hospital, we're from the same tribe. Mothers who love too much and sometimes get too little in return. But also women who, despite everything, keep standing, reinventing ourselves every day, discovering it's never too late for a new beginning.